I'm so excited for my guest, Sienna, who is the founder of the Figs platform, which helps strangers bond over a home-cooked meal. They've already had hundreds of strangers meet on their platform. They have events like there's Mumbai at home. They have chicken nugget events. They've got barbecue events. Though they already started, you even have 3 relationships are formed from your platform, which is probably better than Hinge's statistic. Anyway, I digress. But Sienna is such a lovely and sweet person, and I can't wait for you guys to hear her story. So thank you for being here, Sienna.
Thank you for having me.
So normally how we start this podcast is we analyze people by their bubble tea choices. So can you tell us what you got?
I got a lychee one. I think it's got tapioca balls in it.
Yeah, lychee and tapioca. Were you expecting the tapioca or?
I actually wasn't, but it's because I remember, but I am glad that you put the tapioca in it, because I remember when I was a kid, I used to have them in Brighton, and it would be lychee with like lychee jelly stuff, and it was so sweet, but it was kind of, yeah, too sweet. So this is good. Is this kind of like a good balance?
It's like a good subtle balance, and sort of, I don't think anyone in this podcast has had lychee, and it's not a very common flavour. So for me, that told me you were open-minded, adventurous. You like to take things by the horns, and you're not afraid to put yourself out there.
Nice. I hope so.
Would you say that's a accurate analysis?
I hope so, yeah. I'd say I'm pretty adventurous and I like to go for things.
And I actually want to go into, why did you call it Figs?
When I was a kid, I used to sit out in the garden, like all of my family friends. We go on holiday every year to Italy. We're very lucky. And there was this like fig tree in the garden. And we used to pick some of these figs and eat them at the table. And sat around that table eating with those people was like a proper community for me. Like, it was the first times, I guess, that I felt super comfortable, just like with a group. And then that was like a couple of family friends, my parents, brothers, cousins. And obviously, everyone grows up.
Yeah.
You go to uni, people sadly pass away, break up.
Life.
Yeah, life. And my parents also divorced. So from there, that's why I was like, I want to start Figs because I want to bring people together, and like that's my favourite thing to do. So like the fig, like the very loose connection was the fig to the table.
That's super deep.
Yeah.
Your parents divorcing, is there a way you're like trying to recreate this community with Figs? Do you think you wouldn't have started it without it, or like?
So yeah, I'd say there's like probably a combination of factors. Like that's maybe one reason, like them divorcing was like I lived like a very privileged upbringing and they're amazing parents, but yeah, I definitely had that feeling of like wanting to bring people together. So maybe yeah, that was one reason, but then I think there are probably like a few others as well. So one would be that I studied Spanish and Italian at uni. Yeah. I love languages, like I love chatting to different people, and in my uni year abroad meant that I lived in Florence and Uruguay, which was like actually incredible. It was really, really hard to meet people initially. So I felt like I kind of experienced what it was like to be in a big city halfway across the world, and not have like a natural community to go. So like with Figs, like a big part of our community is people who are new to London. And I think like having that understanding of that was really helpful.
We've now got a game. It's called Would You Rather?
Okay.
So just to get to know you a bit more personally, would you rather have your dream dinner guest, Whitney Wolf, or £1 million in funding for your business?
That's actually a really good question. I'd say I'd rather have her as a guest.
Whoa!
Because I would imagine that the advice that she would be able to give me, and also hopefully, well, this is like in a dream world, she'd be able to help me out.
Yeah,
so she's got the money.
Yeah, get the money.
Got to get both.
Yeah, and even being in a like her sphere of influence would be really powerful. She might be really interested in investing. So Whitney Wolf, if you're listening, Sienna's got a platform for you. So would you rather have the ability to teleport or read minds?
Good question. I want both.
No, both.
So I tell you why I want both.
Tell me why you want both.
Okay, so teleportation. I'm thinking of this example in my head of being this dinner party where I, like, on the night of it, there was these hosts who I love, and they posted again, they're great. They called me up and they were like, we don't have a table. And I was like, guys.
They don't do that.
Yeah, they were like, we don't have a table that's going to fit everyone.
Oh, that's
like literally 2 hours before it started. And I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. So I went down to Argos, like, got a table, and was like literally thinking to myself, I would love if I could teleport there now. It was massive, and I was like, at least I've been to the gym. It's like,
wow. I love how you dealt with that problem.
Yeah.
In my head, there's no solution to that. Like, if you can't find a table, like, sit on the sofa or something.
Yeah, just that. Yeah, I guess I could have thought of an easier option, but I was like,
I love how
everyone's got to sit.
I'm going to August and I'm getting a table. Yeah. Brilliant. And would you rather, we know you love languages, would you rather speak all languages fluently or be able to understand animals, speak to animals in their language, or if they have a language?
I'd rather be able to speak all languages fluently. I love languages and I love animals, but languages is my thing, and I like talking to people the most.
Yeah.
So if I could bring people together all over the world by speaking their language,
wow,
that would be insane.
Wow, brilliant. And the final would you rather question is, would you rather always have to sing everywhere you go or have to dance wherever you go?
I'd probably... so I have to, like, speak to people, so I'd have to sing?
You'd have to sing like this, like, all the time? Or, like,
man, that would be so annoying.
Like,
I'd much rather, I think, dance everywhere.
So, like...
Because at least I could get across my point.
Right, but singing, it's hard. So, like, you'd be talking and you'd just be like...
Perfect, yeah, that's fine. But
That's fine.
I do that a lot anyway.
Yeah.
But
brilliant. On this podcast, we really want to, like, delve into how people build apps.
Sure.
Because we want to enable aspiring entrepreneurs to know everything you did from, like, 0 to 6 months to really get your app off the ground. So I want to ask, when you had this initial idea for Figs, how did you begin?
So I started Figs initially with Bo. And I was like, Bo, I need a logo. I don't know what to do. Like, how do you even begin to do that? It's called Figs. Go. And he, like, found DALL-E, which is an AI image generator. And he put in a prompt and off he went.
That was made on a prompt, by prompt?
Yeah. So it was like, the initial prompt was make a cross-section of a fig, Simpson style. And that was what came out.
Because it's really cool. So you contacted your brother for the logo. How did coding the web platform begin and things?
Okay, so it started initially, I'd been thinking about it for, like, maybe a year. Like, I'd genuinely been sat on it, like, researching it. Like, I'd felt the problem because it was post-COVID. I was working in startups and I was bored of, like, how you meet people, and everything was on Zoom. I was also single, so, like, I was on the apps and I was, like, so bored of
the apps
connection in that way. The apps. In the eyes.
The apps. They're not, yeah, they're almost, like, anyway, another conversation, but yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it kind of went from there. I was researching it for a while. And then I actually remember, like, the exact moment where I was like, I have to start this. I was walking back from work. I'd had a long day. And I looked at my phone and there was this Instagram by Vulgar Drawings, which was about, like, the dating app problem.
Yeah.
And it was talking about how everything's online now. No one meets in real life. The magic's gone. There's no accountability. And I was like, I'm angry.
Do you know what? How can I dig in? How many times have you deleted the apps?
A lot.
Yeah, me too. Because do you really get, like, you're just like, I'm done with this. But yeah, it's just so frustrating. And it's funny because apps are meant to bring people together, but I think less people meet. More people are single now. And I think it's weird how you can start with one intention as an app and then actually be basically doing a disservice to what you initially said.
Yeah, it is weird. It feels like it's kind of completely changed the way that people form relationships. And I think in ways it's kind of scary, but it's also exciting. It's pretty cool that something like an app multiple apps changed the world in that way. So, but it also means it can change again.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt. When you said you were on the app, continue with that story. You were on the apps. When was that specific moment you knew you had to build Figs?
Yeah, so I saw this Instagram by Vulgar Drawings and I was like, right, I'm angry. I want to do this. Like, I want to start this platform, that idea that I had in my head. I was sat in a cafe with one of my close friends and we were doing, like, a bit of Sunday work, and she was like, right, when's it starting then, Sienna? Like, when are you actually going to do an event? This is, like, it's got to happen. And I was like, okay. So I literally just, like, booked in a dinner party, posted it on Instagram, and, like, worked backwards from that date that I'd booked it in. So that's kind of how it began. So went about finding initial users from there.
Yeah. And I remember, like, I've seen on your LinkedIn when you're finding initial users, you were texting your friends to invite other people and things like that. But you said you were always saying, like, sorry, pardon me. Like, how did you find the confidence to go for it, ask your friends, and not be maybe so apologetic about it?
I think the reason I found the confidence initially was, one, because I actually had to. I had no choice. I'd booked in this event. I'd said I was going to do it to everyone. I didn't want to let them down or let myself down. I think, secondly, I was at a point where I was so excited to, like, start something entrepreneurial and kind of fed up with what I'd been working on. I mean, I loved my jobs, but I was just really ready to start something. So it was like a combination of doing something, like getting something booked, and then also being fed up with what I was doing at the time.
So yeah, you found the problem and you found the right time.
Exactly, yeah.
That's really brilliant. So how did that first dinner party go? What happened there?
So at the first one, I was, like, super nervous, which I think also, like, feeds a lot into what you're saying about saying sorry, like, for contacting people. I felt like I was asking people for favours to come along.
Yeah.
So the first one, I posted it. I needed to get those initial people to come along that I didn't know, because it's all about strangers.
Yeah.
So I messaged a couple of my friends and was like, can you invite someone that I don't know along to the dinner party? And they did.
Yeah.
And that was like the icky bit. But it genuinely took me, like, 6 months to get past that weird feeling of, like, asking for help.
Yeah.
But I realised that nothing would actually happen if I didn't. So
yeah. It's super tricky, like, that icky feeling of asking for favours, because you always feel like you're bothering someone in some way. It's super difficult. But how did that first sort of party go? Like, how was that first dinner party?
Yeah, it was so much fun. Taking myself back. So everyone turned up, and that was kind of quite awkward. Well, like, when everyone, like, first turns up, I feel like it was. Now I feel like we're a lot more used to it. Like, we've all gone to networking events. You all say hi to people. It's fine. You've gone on, I don't know, a date with someone and never met.
It's always really awkward in the beginning, but yeah, you get used to it. You
get used to it. But I feel like back then people just, like, weren't as. Back then, a year ago, people just, like, weren't as open-minded though in general, I don't think. So, like, when turning up, it was a bit weird. Like, and then people went silent. There were, like, a lot of awkward silences. Yeah, like, at the beginning of every single time. Because if you think about it, you've got no connection to each other in the room. Like, we try now to move towards a niche and make sure that everyone has something to chat about. Yeah. But, like, at the beginning, like, complete strangers, they, like, don't know each other. There's no, like, where do you actually begin? So the beginning of the first one definitely taught me to be comfortable with an awkward silence.
So wait, so you'd be around a dinner table and people would literally be like...
Yeah, it would sometimes just fall silent.
No way!
Yeah, and then I'd be like, right, conversation starters in the middle of the table.
Sorry, how many people were there when it just felt
8? So the first one was 8 people, and not, like, for ages. I think as the host as well, you kind of, like, in your mind, that becomes 10 minutes. It's actually, like, a couple seconds. Yeah, I actually probably wasn't as awkward for everyone else as it was for me, because I obviously wanted it to go well. Yeah, but yeah.
I'm just sort of picturing that. But you've got an excellent personality to bring it back to life. Do you think, what was the feedback after the first event?
So, like, feedback after the first one was great. Like, we had a dinner, we got everyone switching around, everyone chatted to each other, everyone made friends. We went out afterwards, so we normally try and, like, no, it definitely, like, oh my God, by the end, everyone was having the best time. Like, got on super well. They were like, can we make a WhatsApp group to follow? Like, we want to stay in touch, we want to come back.
That's where you've had a good event where people are like, let's make a chat to keep this group.
Literally, yeah. I was like, this is nice. So... yeah, no, it went really well. And then from that dinner, I found my first initial non-founder hosts, so not me, called Rob and Alex. And then they went and hosted the next one. So that was the start of it, growing out into more of a dinner party platform, like people actually hosting for the community, for each other. I met Dan, who then went on to build out the platform for us.
So you met him through the dinner party?
I met him for a dinner party.
Oh.
He came up to me and he was like, I love the idea. I'd love to like gain experience in this area and help you out.
Wow, he came to you?
Yeah. So, and he built a great, well, I think it's a great platform.
It is.
He did really well. And we worked like together 3 months fully on it. It was a co-founder trial as well. Mm-hmm. He decided again that he wanted to sort of like go back to focus on his career. So it then became me again.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, so it was me again for a bit. And
were you banking on Dan coming to be your co-founder?
It was always like we were just working on it. It was always like we didn't know where it was going to go. It was kind of like Y Combinator style. Yeah. Like testing out whether it would work. 3-month trial period, like see what happens. But yeah, in the end it just didn't work. That he ended up going back to his own place and working at JP Morgan. I was like, fair. Yeah. But he's like still, he comes along still to like dinner parties. Like, we love Dan.
And he still coded it, didn't he?
He still coded it. He did the whole job, which is amazing.
Yeah. And, so you had that period with Dan. I just really wanted to delve into being a solo female founder. Like, how do you find that? Because for me, it's tough. And I just want to hear your experiences. Do you still want a co-founder? Is that something you're looking for?
I think I'm always open to it because it's, that is definitely quite lonely. It's like the first thing that like comes to mind is yes, like it can be just quite challenging not being able to chat to anybody about a problem. And I'm such a people person. Like I love a sounding board, chatting through things with people, and not having that can be quite tough. But I have also most of the time had someone who has been like, hey, I want to help. I want to get experience in this area. Can I help with this? So I've got someone helping me out at the moment, more like product stuff. And I can always call up, like, got friends and family who I can always call up and chat to about it. But I mean, dream is to like build out a team in the future, and that would be amazing. But for now, it's just me.
Just you, yeah. Brilliant. And yeah, even though you started this just under a year ago, you've already built this really strong sense of community. And I was like, how did you build this brand around like community? And everyone feels so genuine on your platform,
Yeah, thank you. So the way that we did that, I didn't want to build out a platform straight away, basically. I didn't want to, Y Combinator, everything you read will tell you, don't do that. Yeah. And wanted to have an MVP, and that was just literally a Google form, getting people to sign up that way. And I wanted to like build the community first and then build something that suited them. So a couple of ways. I think the first one was just being super genuine and kind, like literally just listening to people, understanding what their problems are, like the type of people they want to meet, what they want to see from Figs, and then acting on that, like asking them questions, putting out polls on Instagram and being like, what do you want to see as the next event? Like, where do you want to go? Chatting to people and all of that stuff. And I think in the way that I like working out that coming across as myself online as well was like a good way of doing that, instead of like putting on this kind of front that I think you often do.
Get people that warm to you and then know the real authentic you. Yeah,
exactly. And I think that was a big part of it, because if you're going to a stranger's house, you need like some kind of friendly face to make that feel okay, whether it's me talking about it or it's the host talking about it or it's a picture, whatever it is. So that was one way. And then another way, and this has kind of been as we've started to grow more recently, is finding niches of people that will actually want to hang out with each other. And then they create their own communities.
Because it's funny enough, I was telling a friend about your app before you came on, and she was like, oh no, I would never want to go to a stranger's house. Like, how could that be possible? And I was like, if you know Sienna and you know the community you built, you just know that's not a consideration of it being weird or like it being dangerous, like do you ever have those concerns? People are like, no, I'm not going to a stranger's house.
Yeah, definitely. And people often ask, what are you doing to stop someone crazy from
coming on your
someone's
platform?
House? And the way that we do that is we verify. all of our users. So to get onto the platform, you have to put in your social media. We check you like through Google, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, your birthday as well, because it's alcohol at the events.
So there's a verification process.
Yeah, so I literally will go through and check everyone.
Right. I guess you want to automate that one day, but you do that for now.
Yeah, I do it for now.
Fair. That's brilliant. Let's talk about money. All right. So there's a lot of Gen Zers that want to start a business. I think 83% of people want to start a business, but actually the thing that holds people back is the money. How are you funding the Figs app?
I currently have a couple of part-time jobs that I do alongside Figs that kind of keep me going. Yeah, pretty bootstrapped.
You know what? I love that because I think it's really important to keep it real that people do have to balance these part-time things. You do have to sacrifice, put some of your income in. Like it's what it's all about. So explain, what do you do part-time that helps keep this going?
Sure. So my main part-time thing that I do is work as an interviewer at Jumpstart.
Nice.
So to give background on that, they're a startup company that get young people into startups or people who want to progress in their career, which means I get to chat to loads of people every day, which is actually so nice because being a solo founder can be a bit lonely. So kind of serves two things for me, which is good.
The social aspect and also the monetary aspect.
I think whilst I'm lucky that I found part-time stuff and I've been able to fund Figs myself in different ways, I know that if I couldn't pay for my bills, I can go home to my parents, then I don't know whether I would have taken that risk. So I think that's also been a hugely important part of our Figs journey is family. So yeah, I've been lucky with that.
Yeah, because having good supportive family, somewhere you would always have a bed to sleep on. Thanks for delving into that. Could you please explain your sort of monetization model?
So in terms of how it works on the platform, a host would upload their dinner party and anyone on the platform can sign up to that. The host sets the price. So let's say it was 20 quid. We would take a 20% platform fee from that £20. And that's how we've monetized it. We also do bigger events and sell tickets for that. So that's been another way we've sort of cash flowed the platform as well.
Brilliant. I love to hear a business really making money in the early days. So the next section of the podcast is actually running Figs day to day. So we really want to delve into what you do day to day to get this app off the ground, just to give people an insight into what it's like to run a business.
So it's pretty chaotic because a lot of the stuff I do is events. So my weeks will be very split up based around that. So for example, last night I had an event, a big event, 50 people came along.
Was it a dinner party vibe?
So it was more of a sort of mixer gathering. There was food involved, but everyone was stood up for our queer community, which was cool. And then tonight I've got another one. But that's a 6-person dinner party. We're playing Catan. Catan. How do you say that? Catan. Does anyone know how to say that?
I've never heard of Catan. What is it?
We're playing Catan.
Oh, I don't know.
What's like it's like resources management game. Yeah, really random.
Community for that?
Honestly, board games in general. Like, there's literally people who want to play board games over dinner. So we're doing how niche Catan. I'm going to say it right, and build your own Pokeball tonight, which I'm quite excited for. I'm going to learn 2 new things,
and that's in one dinner.
In one dinner. So I was like, I've got to go to this one. So that's in Peckham tonight, but they're all over London. So I'll be travelling around doing different things. And then in terms of splitting up my time, I do it kind of around that. So a lot of it will be social media, marketing, growing the community, thinking about partnerships. I found it pretty overwhelming, to be honest, at first. Like, how do I split all of that up when it's also sleeping is quite out of whack a lot of the time.
Because you're out most nights, right?
Yeah. So what I try and do is just make sure that I have at least 2 days where I have some form of chill time in that day. And then every day that I get up and I'm like, today is a work day, I try and do 3 things and that's it.
And that's it. That's how you split your time.
Yeah.
Did you read that from, there's a book that says you should just find 3 highlights in the day that you will do?
I think it was from Grace Beverley.
Right. I that.
I'm a big fan. I think like literally learned so much from her. What's her book? Working Hard, Hardly Working. Like I've always struggled with organisation of my time, so that was pretty helpful.
But yeah, who would be your dream dinner guest?
It would be Whitney Wolfhard. I really like the way that she ran Bumble.
Yeah.
I'd really want to ask her loads of questions about her empathetic approach to work and how that is so different to how a lot of companies are run. So I'd want to ask her questions around that. She has built something that's changed the way that people date in the world, and also a complete mindset change in terms of women being the first to make the move.
Yeah.
And I just find that whole thing so interesting around how she actually did that in the first place, because I think with Figs as well, there's a big part of it that is opening people's minds to a different way of meeting people and inviting strangers into your home. So yeah, that would be my dream dinner party guest.
And what do you mean by empathetic approach? I've never heard about that. Like, what is this approach to?
It's actually more about like the way she handles her team and how she, like, if someone's having a bad day, she will be like, okay, like, let's sit down and hear about why you're having a bad day and talk about it. And if you are really having an awful day, just go home and come back tomorrow and be better. And I like believe that as a way to work. And I think there's so many people that are sat at work not wanting to. And actually, if they just took a break because they're burnt out or whatever it is and came back the next day, they'd be so much better at that. And that's pretty inspiring. So yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant dinner host guest. The next section of this podcast is the reality, because we want to spill the tea on being an early stage founder. We've heard so much about, people, we hear this glorified LinkedIn post, but we want to know the tea on what it is to actually be a founder. And do you ever feel like quitting?
Yeah, well, I've definitely thought about quitting. I've thought about it for 10 minutes on multiple days. Yeah, definitely over over winter recently. I think when I got to the point of finding part-time stuff and trying to make things work like financially with Figs and working out how it would all piece together, and also just getting up every day to work on it, for that was probably times when I considered quitting it. But I like to go through scenarios in my head, and then I'll be like, oh no, I don't want to do this, because I'm so passionate about it. Like, I love the problem for so many different reasons that like feed into so many parts of who I am, I can't not work on this problem. And if I didn't, it would be the same problem, but like somewhere else. So
yeah. And how do you motivate yourself and know what to do with your time? Because what I found really hard about entrepreneurship is like being your own boss. Like, there's no accountability, no one to tell you what to do. How do you every day keep yourself motivated to get things done?
So on the days when I feel like quitting, it's normally someone in the community who saves me. Right. So it will be someone being like, hey, I met someone last night and we've like gone on holiday together, or hey, like I had so much fun at this event, and like keep going, and like people genuinely like keep me going with it. Yeah, I don't know. I also would say that I have some I'm driven, so like I'd have like something, I don't know what it is, but I quite enjoy doing some kind of work or
getting it done. Yeah, brilliant. And has there been any sacrifices you've had to make for your business pursuits?
Yeah, definitely. Mainly around relationships in my life. So luckily, I mean, in ways, it's definitely brought me like, a lot closer to my friends. But
closer, right?
Yeah, because I think it's improved like the way that I communicate with them and just being honest about stuff. But there's definitely sacrifices in terms of like, oh, I would normally go to this event or whatever it would be, and I wouldn't be able to. So there's definitely that. But to be honest, it's actually not that bad. Financially, definitely as well. But that's a kind of a given, I think.
Yeah, so your friends understand what you're doing and they're fine with you, let's say, missing events or like things.
Yeah, I'd say like I still have like a pretty active social life, and also like a lot of them sometimes will come along to big stuff and like support it. I see them there, and like I have a close circle of friends, and it's actually I've kind of worked out, I guess, over the past year how to make that work, and like doing different things like going for a run with a friend instead of going and for a drink with them is like good for, well, 2 reasons. You're not spending money on a drink.
Yeah.
And also, 3 reasons. You're exercising and you're seeing your mate at the same time. So
there's even like a really great way I like to spend time with friends, which seems so, I would have never expected to be this way, but like co-working with them, you know, like we both get things done, we chat in between sort of different pieces of work.
Just kind of being present with someone. Yeah.
Just being by them the whole day, which is really powerful. And yeah, who inspires you?
Well, so many people. They're all people in my personal life. I'd say my brother, a huge one, just in that he keeps me going with things. Like my close friends are all doing amazing things. We all like hold each other up, and that's probably another one. My dad like started his own events business, and I kind of grew up knowing what he did as a kid, and he's very good at seeing an event, like how it should run, how it should be planned, and how it should be branded, how it should look, and all of these different things. So I learned so much from him about events and bringing people together. And then the other thing that inspires me is listening to how I built this. If I'm having a bad day, I'll listen to that whilst I'm running, and listen to how someone started a business from nothing, and you realise that actually there's so many things that are possible. So yeah, that would be my answer to that.
And yeah, you know, I feel like it's not great to talk to women about relationships and running a business because, you know, people are always like, would you ask a man that? Yes, I would. How are your relationships? Are they good, bad, surviving, thriving? Have you met someone through Figs? Have you deleted the apps? Like, spill the tea.
Well, this could get juicy. Yeah, so actually one of my ways of marketing Figs is on Hinge, or on all the dating apps. So
I love that.
I don't know if I'm now going to be back
girl boss.
But like my Hinge profile is fully swipe. What is it? What's it say? Oh, you should go on a date with me if you want to come along to this event next Saturday. So like that's all over my profile for at Figs Community, Instagram. And then like people genuinely, like that was a massive way that I marketed it initially, like just through Hinge. And because like the majority, like single people want to meet other people. If you're in a relationship, you're less likely to want to go and meet someone. So
true. Yeah.
It brought in like so many people.
Really?
Yeah.
So people popped up.
Yeah. People either pop up or they just see it and then they go and follow the Instagram and then they just sign up to the events. So it's just like been it feels at the moment that people are funneling from so many different directions. Like there's LinkedIn and like the startup events that we've been doing, so people are seeing it there. And then we've got Hinge unconventionally, like then funneling people in, and Instagram, TikTok's now started to go a bit viral, so that's fun. So like every single event I do, I go, can you give me a whoop if you found us on TikTok, and like if you found us on Instagram, if you found us on Hinge, and like I like gauge the room. Last night was fully TikTok.
Fully TikTok?
Yeah, fully TikTok.
I need to be following your TikTok page. So that's really, I actually really want to go into the social media. How has social media helped Figs grow from like this 8-person initial dinner party to now hundreds of people on this?
So up until April this year, we had, so over the course of the year, we built 500 users. And that mainly came from just word of mouth, like people sharing it. As I said, going on TikTok, Instagram, Hinge, LinkedIn. So the LinkedIn was like building partnerships with people like Jumpstart, London Future Founders, and helping them to do events for their existing community. And people obviously talk about it, which is great. So that's one way. Instagram and TikTok is thinking about, right, how do I like fit into this algorithm? Like what's gonna work? Actually, what I've learned from that is that the more, like as I said earlier, more genuine you can be, the more people that you end up reaching, particularly with TikTok. And then, so yeah, and then just like getting people to host. So that then brings in 8 people at a time, or 16 people that then go and tell their friend who tell their friends, and it just kind of goes from their word of mouth. TikTok's just gone crazy, like, and suddenly we've gone from 500 to nearly 1,000, like very quickly. We've started to grow out, mainly because we've started focusing on like key parts of the community. One of those has been for queer women, and another part has been the startups focused area of it as well. So yeah, I'd say that's like how it's accumulatively all built up.
So you found specific communities that are just really getting it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And what are some of your key learnings as an entrepreneur?
Key learnings as an entrepreneur. I thought that you should do things at scale. And actually, like when you're starting up, particularly with a community where people are involved, like I've learned that doing things that don't scale is the way to go. So I remember doing one of our initial like bigger mixer events, which was to bring more people into the dinner parties. And we like did a couple of things like throughout the event, like giving people little name tags and little note. And then after the mixer, sending them all a letter and a little gift, you know, little things like that that make it so much more personal. Like it couldn't scale at all. I care about it, so why wouldn't I do what I would do anyway, just because I want to scale it? So I think that would be a huge piece of advice. And then find your niche. There are so many platforms that are just spread out, and no one can really find like the place for them. So I think finding your niche is another good thing. The last thing, I've given you 3.
Brilliant.
You can choose whichever one you like the most. So the final one is, when you have an idea, don't sit on it for a year like I did. Just do it. Literally, whatever it is that you're trying to do, book in the first event, build the first Google form. That's all it was. And try and get it to happen. Yeah. Obviously, like there's deep tech AI companies and like biotech stuff that can't quite happen with. But whatever the first step is, like even in those instances, take that first step as soon as you can, because you'll learn then from that point, and then your idea won't be the same.
Yeah, the idea won't be the same. It's weird because that took me a long time before learning that. Like I always had these big dreams, but because it was so far away, I didn't know how to get it done. But you realize that first thing, you just learn so much. Just like the getting from thought to action quickly is really quite powerful.
Well, because it's really scary. That's why. And I think, particularly as a woman, like in this space, I think like there's a lot of, like I've met so many male founders at events who,
because there's a lot of them. Yeah.
And like literally 80% of the room who can talk so confidently, which is amazing, about their idea. And so many women with amazing ideas as well, who like just need like a tiny step, and then they'd be amazing. Yeah. But it's like taking that initial.
It's all about that first step. Because I remember I organised this first Nova and Boba sort of meetup, and it was meant to be a picnic, but then it started raining. And then a lot of people were like, when it rains, a lot of people were like, oh, can't come anymore, can't come. And I remember seeing all these texts like, can't come anymore. But anyway, it just ended up for maybe about 6 of us, but it was such a intimate, cool event. I was thinking if it had cancelled and that never started, it would have never led to like the 150 plus event we had like later on. I was thinking that tiny thing. So I really like encourage like women just to do it, whatever it looks like.
Yeah, 100%. And also come along to the events, come along and join the communities. Even if you're not going to do something, like come and talk. It doesn't matter if you don't have an idea, but you want to start something.
Because I think even seeing other people do what you want to do, it's really inspiring. Because then you're like, actually, if they can, I can do it. Like,
yeah. So no, and
because that's why I've loved hearing your story. The fact that you started with 8 strangers, there were awkward silences, there were you having to like revive the conversation again, to now, that journey is pretty incredible. So it's like so great to know things can really start from humble beginnings.
Right.
So what are some of the best things about being an entrepreneur?
Best things about being an entrepreneur, probably freedom to work on whatever you're super passionate about. So that's what I love. It's like waking up every day and feeling excited for the day, and like working on whatever problem that particular day is going to throw at you, and like freedom of time as well. I think not everyone loves it, to be fair. People like routine, but I love being able to work on whatever I want to on whatever day.
Brilliant. The final section is the future. What does the future of Figs look like for you?
So the big dream is anyone could move to a new city, or they could be lonely in wherever they were, in whatever part of a big city in the world, and they could go onto the platform, see a dinner party down the end of their road, and go along and have a seat at that table and feel like they could chat to someone really nice and not feel alone.
It's just been amazing hearing your journey from the humble beginnings to building this amazing, buzzing platform where people are genuinely really happy. So super excited to host my first Figs event, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I am so inspired by Sienna's journey with the Figs platform. Seeing the fact that the platform started off with 8 strangers and now has developed into this real community is so inspiring to see. If there's any part of this podcast that you enjoyed hearing, please do like, comment and subscribe. It helps the podcast more than you know.